Hi, my people. Welcome back to 100 Days of Data with Miss Mailiana. It's day 66 of 100 Days of Data, and today we are looking at the dirty data sets. All right. So all that we are learning here is picking up major topics under data analytics that you need to understand from the beginning, from scratch. All right. So data sets are the data we gather, right? The records we gather, we keep, we input and all that. Some in Excel, some in Google Sheets, some in SQL and all that. And most of the time, our data is never clean. We are humans. We make mistakes. We make a lot of errors in filling forms and all that. So all that comes up to make our data dirty. All right, before we get into it, I am Francisca Mailiana Zonki, your lead tutor for this challenge, mostly known as Miss Mailiana, and we are here to learn about it. So you're going to take some core steps, right, or core concepts in handling dirty data sets, right? Bet you, as a data analyst, you're going to actually deal with a lot of dirty data sets. So these are some of the things you would always do, and you should have at your fingertips that you do as a data analyst almost every time. Okay, so the very first step, I'll call it a step, is step 1. Inspect the data set. As I mentioned in previous videos, we are coming up with a full textbook for data analytics, right? From all that we've taught in this 100 days videos, I'm going to put in a book, all right, that you can grab and use to teach and all that as well. All right, so first things first is inspect your data set. So I'm actually using the book. We are coming up with a book, so you're using the book to teach now. All right, so before touching anything, right, you really have to look at the data set to know what's going on in the data. So I always emphasize on studying the data set because it's very crucial for you to know what the data set is about, and so that you know if something is wrong or something is not wrong. Because if you don't know what the data set is about, you wouldn't be able to tell what is wrong. All right, as well. So you have to look at things like how many rows and columns are there. Very important. You have to know, all right, how many rows do we have? That's like how many records do we have? How many columns do we have? That's different variables. You have to know that as well. Next thing you have to know is what does each column represent. So in my 101 data class, when I'm taking a new beginner through data analytics, I make them actually list each of the columns out and tell me what type of data it is. Either it's a categorical data or a numerical data, you would tell me. And every project you have, you will take it, right? Some people see it as too basic, but I'm like, that's how you actually build the muscle of studying your data easily. All right, pardon me for the noise. I'm recording at night and there's a lot of conversations going on in my background as well. So the next thing we go on to is you also inspect to find out, do any values look obviously wrong? So I make this example a lot. So let's say you are having numbers column and the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but all of a sudden you see ONE1 like spelt out. That's an error, that's like an obvious error there, so you check it out, right? And then you also inspect the blank spaces or missing values. So if you say blank spaces, you are saying missing values. If there are, how many are they? Many or something like that. How many blank spaces do we have? So the very first step of handling your dirty data set is that you actually would inspect your data set. Look at how many columns and rows are there. Also, what does each column represent, right? As I said, I actually make my students go one after the other. Yeah. Then do any values look obviously wrong? Like, why is this there, right? Some things are there, like it's already, like you can see that it's wrong without you doing further analysis. And then are there any blank spaces? So these are the whilst you're studying the data, doing all these things, you'll come across multiple things, or sometimes, right, not all the time, come across multiple things that are not making sense, like all that. So you have to find out why is that way and all that. But it's very important for you to inspect your data from the beginning. All right, I have cold, so I'm struggling to speak. Pardon me. Yeah, not. I promised myself to record this. So the next thing is step number 2. Identify missing values. All right, so identify missing values has a lot in there, right? Sorry. Missing values is a SAP. So identify all issues. So there are issues that you need to really look out for. And the very first one is missing values, right? We just spoke about blank spaces, so it's the same thing, missing values. So sometimes your missing values may be a 0 that wasn't included, may be unknown that wasn't written, or NA that wasn't written, and all that. So sometimes when you have a data, you may want to delete some missing values there, but sometimes you don't have to delete, you have to insert something. So you have to really identify all your missing values. The next thing is duplicates, things that you have to identify as well. Then maybe inconsistency formatting, right? Inconsistent formatting. When we talk about formatting, what are we talking about? A for apple, 1, 2, 3. So if where it's supposed to be an A is not an A, is 1, you have to check that as well. Sometimes it's supposed to be capital, but it's small. You also have to know that. So inconsistency formatting is a range. It's not one particular thing. You just have to know which one works for you. Sometimes you also have to go with your own discretion. Something like, okay, you like to work with small letters instead of capital letters. Also, sometimes you also want to work with capital letters instead of small letters, right? That is there. Right, the next thing you actually identify would be wrong data types. Right, so our 2 major data types, there are several, but 2 major data types are what? Text and numbers. All right, which is what? Categorical data, numerical data. But even under numerical, we have date, we have decimals and all that. So you have to note if there's any wrong data type as well. The next thing also is what? Identify outliers, right? Or impossible values. So some things are there, when you look at it, you're like, nah, this doesn't make sense. So it's very, very important to inspect your data. Sometimes you see it, they're talking about age of maybe class 1 students are saying age number 50. Who is 50 years in class 1? Right, some things like that are impossible. So you check it out as well. So these are the step number 2 of you handling your data, dirty data set. You first and foremost want to inspect your data. Secondly, you identify, sorry about that, I mostly stand here, so it felt wrong standing there, right? You mostly identify all issues as much as you can: missing values, duplicates, inconsistency, wrong data types, outliers, and all that as well. Then the next thing you go into is step number 3. handle missing values. All right, so when we talk about missing values, very, very important. As I said, some missing values are not supposed to be deleted. They're supposed to be zeros, ones, or anything like that, right? So for example, you fill it with a default. So fill with a default. A default could be that maybe the text could be unknown. Okay, so maybe there are a lot of unknowns, so you keep all of them in one category, right? So they become a new category set. Or they may be zero, right? None, there was none given, right? Something like that. Or it could be a median or average of the numbers. So you have to really understand what is missing, why is it missing, what is supposed to be there on a normal and it's not there. So what would be the substitute, right? So for example, like a store giving discounts, not everybody gets a discount. So the places that are empty are those people who didn't get discounts. So what goes there? Zero. That's an example as well. Then the next thing is you can remove the row if the missing value makes the record useless. So remove the row. Sometimes you have a data, maybe you downloaded the data online or something, so you're using it for your project, and when you have the missing values there, it makes things useless or complicated for you. You can take it off, right? But always note that you think of defaults first before you remove it as well. Then we move on to, I'm really struggling, flag it with a new column if you want to track it, right? Or you can flag it with a new column. So that is you doing feature engineering to buttress why like it's being missing. All right, so something like, okay, the discount, you say, okay, those with zero are people that didn't have discounts, those with one and above are those with discounts, just so that when people see it, they'll know that, okay, the zero means no discounts and all that as well. Then step number 4. Step number 4 is fixing formatting. I think at this point you realize that we've mentioned multiple of these things one after, like somewhere somehow in some of the videos, so you can see how everything at the end of 100 days or 100 videos, see that how everything comes together to form the whole data analytics process. So therefore now you convert your date, right? You convert your dates to have, watch previous video on dating as well. I think dates and other things, whereby we talked about the UK dates, the US dates, the standardized dates and all that as well. So you have to check that as well. And then maybe remove, you can remove inconsistent capitalization, right? So inconsistencies, you can also think of trim when you are using Excel to trim spaces around your text as well and all that. Then now let's take step number 5. Step number 5 is removing duplicates. Okay, and step number 6 is you create new features. So we've spoken about feature engineering already, so I'm not going to talk about that here. Removing duplicates is, as always, a thing we do here. So handling messy data means this. I'm going to take it 1 to 6 as a summary, a summarization. Then we call it a wrap here. So first, 1, inspect. 2, identify issues. issues. 3, handle missing values. 4, fix formatting. 5, you remove duplicate. 6, you create features when necessary, new features when necessary. So these are the 6 steps in handling dirty data set. So actually this could be a full project you do. Okay, this could be a full project you do, and this project is going to be termed as data cleaning, right? Something like that. It's data cleaning. So if you go check our data cleaning video and you come and check this, it's quite similar. That is also to say that data analytics is like a whole system that works hand in hand, right? So some of the words you hear is the same thing, some of the process you do is the same thing. So when sometimes people think that they have to, like, I've learned so and so, I need to learn this again, but you realize that what you're going to learn again is the same thing as what you know already. All you need to do is have an open mind and practice more and try to, like, just think aloud, and sometimes even have conversations with your data. I do that a lot, right? Okay, what am I looking for here? All right, I found it. What next? Okay, what is the organization looking for? Those quite questions, and have a banter with your data, and it's going to be fun. So something like you take your data as your baby or as your peer and you have conversations with them, and that works as well. So I'm going to wrap up with so I'm not going to write it, right, but common mistakes, right? So it's a new thing in the textbook, right? Common mistakes people make are what? Starting to fix before completing the inspection, right? I see that a lot in my students. They rush. So please do not rush. Please do not think you have to get everything right at a go. Please do not think that the inspecting of your data is not necessary. It's very, very necessary. Do not try to fix things before you go into them, or before you even, like, do not just start say I'm cleaning without inspecting. Mistake number 2 is cleaning in a wrong order. It says we recommend the order of handle the empty values or blank spaces first, fix the formatting, and remove duplicates. Sometimes when you handle the missing values, there wouldn't be duplicates, but when you don't handle missing values, sometimes there will be duplicates, because sometimes maybe I am Francisca, I bought something and I didn't have discounts and it's 0. I bought something and it had discounts and it's also maybe empty, but it's supposed to be 1, right? So if I don't handle the 0, which is empty, and I say, okay, am I making the right example? All right, yes. So both of them have discounts, but different discounts, right? So maybe one is 1 point something and it has been run off, and another one is 1 point something that has run off again. It's 2 different products, but it's the same person buying it. If you don't handle the empty spaces or you don't handle the formatting better, you may delete one because it's showing duplicates, because 2 people buy it, one name showing twice, right? But then actually it's buying 2 different things, and maybe the product name is not there and it's just only the discount number or something like that. So always try to find out all these things before you remove duplicates as well. Then another thing we do is overwriting the original raw data. So always keep your raw data somewhere safe, right? The empty data or the dirty data shouldn't be duplicated and clean one, so that you always go back to see, okay, this was how dirty it was and this is how I have cleaned it. And so I use that because I'm a tutor, so almost every time I have the original data set, but it is needed as a data analyst to always have your original data, the raw one, the dirty one, and then you duplicate it and you work with that. The final mistake I'm going to touch on is assuming data is clean after one pass. Data is mostly not clean after one pass. You have to clean, right? I always say this, there are data cleaning jobs that you can do for 3 months, 6 months. Yes, you'll be cleaning the data. For people even join you to clean that data. But all is to say that humans makes mistakes, and humans are those who collect the data. And even if you say machine collect the data, humans are those who created the machines. Right, so you always have to take note of that. I hope this helps, and thank you so much for learning with us. See you on the next video. Also, we have our monthly data foundation class that goes on every month. If you want to learn data analytics from scratch and practice and build your own projects whilst watching all these videos, join our monthly live classes as anytime, right? Every month it goes out. We have 2 major track, right? So if you register, you can join our Excel and Power BI class, which is like for beginners, and we have the SQL and Python also for beginners. But maybe someone has already learned Excel and they don't need this anymore, so they want SQL and Python as well. So I'm going to see you in class. All right, also use the link in the description to sign up to our community and join the WhatsApp platform. Amazing things are coming up in few days, right? When we started 100 days of data on YouTube here, this is like just me yapping because, all right, when we started here, we were just data with Miss Mailiana. Now we are transforming to the digital college. So that is to tell you that a lot is happening in the community. So join us now. All right, see you on the next video, and it's bye for now.